What is going on, y'all? It is good to be back. I had to miss the past couple weeks just due to unforeseen circumstances. Uh, 2 weeks ago, there was ice all over the roads, and I do this from work, and I didn't want to drive home in the dark in the ice. And last week, I just wasn't feeling all that great. So it is good to be back. And y'all, I don't even know, like, y'all are just going to have to hang on for the ride. And if you're easily offended, you might as well just go ahead and get off now because there's liable to be some offending happening, which is just fine with me. My guests tonight have their own live stream. I've been a guest twice on there. And we've just become friends over the course of the past few months. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring out Kelle Steinecke and Christy. Hi, y'all.
Hello. Hey. See, I like that, y'all.
Yeah. Yes, me too. I love it. Well, and I love your tunes on the
oh my God, Kelle, gotta fix our music.
No,
that's why I never put it on music.
For that reason. Because it's gotta be upbeat. I don't like the other one. It's redone. It's just as cool.
But I got some ideas off. I like his words. You know?
Yeah.
I like the words.
That's what we're doing, because I don't want to say it every time.
Right. And I usually end up saying it, but man, it's comments are rolling in fast. The Restream is not keeping up. There we go. We got Dan Roth here. We got Gabe Leal here.
Yeah, we got
Tom Smith is in the house. Christy Vaughn. Omar, how's it going, man?
Omar, awesome.
Chef Jill Sullivan, did you bring some snacks? That's all I want to know. It was in my intro video. Grab a snack. Did you bring a snack? That's all I want to
know. It's almost, it's 8 o'clock. I should have had my glass of wine.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Holly Campolongo from Twitch is here. Robert Berry. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Cool. Yeah. So thank y'all for being here.
Yeah.
So why the fuck are we here?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'm the old lady. I'm allowed to say those words.
You can say whatever you want. I mean, let's just be honest. The best part is that we get to have the script flipped. We having Chris on our show twice, and we have so much fun backstage, and just even in our own direct messages with the three of us, we're ridiculous, but I love it.
It is. It's a little off the charts.
It is. It's been
Jill says she had nachos and beer, and that sounds pretty freaking amazing right now.
I can work with that.
That's what I'm talking about.
I like my wine better, but because my dogs are named Pinot Merlot, so there is a reason why I like my. I knew you would, Chris.
So true.
Right. So, what do y'all want to talk about? Christy asked me backstage. She said, "What are we talking about?" I said, "I have no earthly idea."
And that's our favorite, though, right?
I know.
Because we usually never know what we're going to talk about.
I know. Well,
I think that Arizona and Florida need to go back to Texas. As much as we hate Texas of our living there, we need to come back to go Texas and go shooting. Go hunting.
Yes, I'm all for that.
I'm not gonna lie. We could use a little help down there right now.
I know.
You think?
I didn't mean it like that. I meant we got it. You got to have it.
Gun range shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
Out in the wilderness, but no, you got to have it, man.
Shooting ranges out there.
Yes, I'll take that, Jill. Definitely.
Yeah, I will too. I love me some
fury,
man.
I can't say the word.
Semi-automatic weapons in high heels, which I love that about us.
So let's just start off talking about y'all's show, The Awesome Journey.
Kelle, start.
Yeah. So yes, which you're one of the very few twofers. Which there is a backstory, and I'll let Christy share that one when I hand it over to her. Yeah. So The Awesome Journey, we started that almost a year ago in April. And it was just one of those things. I had the domain for years, always thought I wanted to do a podcast because The Awesome Journey is life. Every day that we wake up on this side of the dirt, regardless of the good, the bad, and the truly shitty, because unfortunately some of the most awful places lead to the most awesome spaces. And we just wanted to bring some inspiration, motivation, and hope into the world for an hour because we were both so sick and tired of all the fear and just crap everywhere, and thought, people are are struggling. Everybody's going through something, especially, and has been exacerbated since 2020. And we really were going to do a podcast at first. And the little added thing that most people likely don't know if they haven't watched before, Christy and I have known each other, connected 15 years ago, but we'd only seen each other in person like 5 times. And I was praying on who should I have as my co-host, because I always felt like my podcast should be with someone else with me. And Christy kept coming up. And I was just sort of like, that's so
like a bad
strange.
penny.
Not strange, but we hadn't spent that much time together. So it was like, okay. Well, I messaged her and she was like, sounds great. Let's get on a call and talk about it. We did. We both started doing live streaming at the beginning of last year. And then we're like, why are we trying to do a podcast? This technology crap is not for us. And decided that we could do live streaming much quicker, and literally threw a date on the calendar and a time before we had anything else really put together. We had an idea of people that we were going to reach out to, but we just, honest to God, just dove in and had no idea what the fuck we were doing. And are so blessed at like where it's taken us, truly, because we've gotten to meet, rad people like you, Tom Smith, who was here, and Dan Murphy. We had them on last week. They're incredible, from Gold Shields.
Their podcast
and
rocks.
Jess Owen, who we loved
I'm
your
poaching
message.
I'm poaching their guests.
Yeah, I mean, because they're amazing. But you get to become friends with people, and that's the cool thing, because you have all these like deep conversations, and you really get to know people. It's not just the boring profile, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but you get to see who people are, what they're about. I mean, especially when you talk about their stories, because we go pretty in depth, and there's been many. I'm a crier, but even Christy's started crying now. I'm just saying. But we get into real deep conversation, and I will say one of our other latest things, not just with Tom and Dan, shouting us out how great we are and their followers should follow us, etc. But Ben and Jess Owen posted like, your guys was the favorite podcast we've done to date. And I'm
They
like,
haven't been on Chris's.
that is a badge of honor.
Yeah, but they haven't been on Chris's yet.
Christy, I said as of to date. Anyway, so neener. So Christy, you can tell the story, the other one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to you've got some comments about authentic. You obviously don't know who I am. Every business that I've owned starts with authentic. Authentic.
But
authentic.
to Dan's point.
I get it.
Oh my God, it's so overused.
Well, I mean, it is.
But I mean, you actually show up authentic though, right?
I was going to say,
exactly.
But she actually does it. I think people do it with an aspiration of being it, and they're pretending they are. I don't think it's genuine.
No, I get it.
I agree.
Christy is 100% though.
my first business, it was named something else, and I argued with Richard, rest in peace, because he died over that China thing. Anyway, I argued with him because it's like, Christy, your business is authentic. You're authentic. And I'm like, oh, okay. And obviously he knew something. But anyway, so Kelle, when we started doing this, Kelle and I'm very fortunate of the contacts I know.
True story.
I'm friends with a lot of the undercover ABC guys, veterans, Blue, the Blue Line, you name it. I am a persuasive networker, always have been, and you never know who I know. And I moved around a lot. So anyway, so I started pulling into Jay Dobbins, who infiltrated the Hells Angels, Bob Hammer, who infiltrated NADLA. These guys I've known for 13, 14 years. But that's what was so cool, because it was like seeing old friends. But I reached out for Chris because I saw something on, post, new people start posting. We were talking. I'm like, I'd love you to come on our show. Yes, fabulous. And this was before I made it where Kelle and I have a conversation together. I would just say, look, they're coming on the show. And so then he was my guest. I went to Asia in May. So I went to Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. And guess who she puts on while I'm gone. I'm sorry, she cock blocked me.
Hey, and I'm just saying that is a title I wear proudly. If I would have had time, I would have totally worn a shirt that said that. But in all fairness, I was in Florida babysitting the dogs. Christy has 2 dogs, so I was there for 3 weeks, and somebody had canceled, and we weren't in a place yet where we were booked out for months. We were literally only booked out like a week or 2 in advance. So I was like, holy crap, who can I reach out to that may be on? And Chris just so happened to be the first one to respond and say yes. But that's why
she didn't let me know until after the show. I'm you know, on the other side of the world, and it doesn't matter. We had WhatsApp.
You had enough going on while you were in Asia. You didn't need to know about that.
No, you cock blocked me. You know,
guilty.
But, yeah. And
that is a great joke, though, for the 3 of us. You guys would be, I mean, really amazing.
You don't have a cock, but you do have balls because we do know that. Yeah.
I told y'all, hang on for the ride. We didn't know what was going to happen tonight. So
we're guys, girls, and for somebody, I mean, I just turned 62, but for somebody who didn't get married until she was 59, and then obviously, I just said the type of people I used to hang out with. Sometimes the 2 of us, we realize that I hate it, guys, but we got bigger balls than you guys sometimes. Not you. So I'm allowed to call her that she had she was cock blocked.
Yes.
She just knows not to do it proudly.
Yeah, because I'm like, again, at my age, I'm like, I'll wear that badge with honor.
Well, that was a great time, though. I had fun hanging out with you and Kendra. But then it was like very, very, as soon as Christy got back in the country, she was like, oh my God. She was like, you are coming back on. You are coming back on.
And we had said that on our show, the first one. It was like, we're definitely coming back because Christy's going to kill me.
Right.
And because it was worthy. It wasn't just even for that. It was like, Chris is worthy of more because there was so much to unwrap. And your story is so, so big. And even, watching your show, Christy and I learned so much from watching your guests. And we do the same. We'll reach out to you and be like, dude, we love this person. Can you do an introduction? Because
Kelle asks if you do an introduction. I poach the people.
Yeah, she does, which is great. I love that about her. But it was great for us because we're also willing to help one another. But but you do like what we do. We talk about real stuff and real topics, and not the edited version. We don't script anything because my feeling is,
this whole thing.
I couldn't imagine. I know.
I had a conversation with Gabe Liao. He's here somewhere. He was earlier. He kind of helped me get into live streaming when I decided I wanted to start producing and answered a bunch of questions and stuff. He's become a real good friend. He shows up at least once a season, and we just do exactly like this, where we have no agenda. We just talk and hang out and cut up, and there's no telling what we're going to end up talking about. But all of his shows are free flowing too. Well, he just recently started one with his girlfriend, who is absolutely not like that at all. So now they do it. They don't script it, but they do like an outline with bullet points just to make sure they hit everything they're going to talk about. I was talking to him the other day.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's hard for me to do that. But
you're putting people are too worried about what their pre-answer was, because they have the question and they think of how they're going to answer it, and then when it comes on, they're too busy thinking about what they thought they were going to say that they're not in the moment. Because a lot of times you go places that you never would have if you scripted it. I mean, we would have missed so many conversations if we would have scripted anything.
Well, plus I wouldn't be able to interrupt.
Right.
But see the difference, and that to me, that's true with guests.
Yeah.
Gabe and Yvette do it together. They sit out on the couch and they have a camera and they have topics they talk about. It's about love and dating and relationships and stuff like that. So it's kind of, she's a teacher. So for her mind works in bullet points with free flowing in between.
There's no way.
So anyway, it's
my husband doing that one. No way.
And it works out good for us because I'm the geek. Like, I nerd out on stuff and I dive down the rabbit hole on people. And it's not because they're interesting. And I get sucked in deep.
And I know they're interesting. I just happen to know
Right.
You
And
know?
so we come from two different angles of it, which is why it works so well. Because like two of me would suck, and two of Christy would just be interrupting each other all the time.
I like it because I don't get yelled at like I do at home. You interrupted me.
Aw, I do love you.
Oh, I love you too. I love my husband too.
Yeah, I do too.
Luckily, I control his LinkedIn. Oh shit, he goes on our Facebook though. Oh well.
No shocker there.
Man, speaking of Facebook, I got on Facebook like 2 weeks ago. After what really prompted me to do it was after you, the Ben and Jess Owen thing. You were like, "Look, I'm going to introduce you. That's cool." They already said they were going to be on it, but if you want to talk to them, go to Facebook because that's where they hang out most of the time, and they're more likely to answer your DMs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I got on Facebook and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to connect with Ben and Jess. And of course, they immediately connected with me and Ben and I talked.
So awesome.
But it's
I love
really big.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on, tell the truth. I tagged you. I tagged a shitload of people. And then
that's true too. Yeah. You tagged
me
him.
the credit when credit is due.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was a little nudge. We had to pay him off to connect with you.
Oh my God.
No, he's
Totally
my
kidding.
brother. He's my brother from another mother.
Yeah, Ben is great, man. Like I'm super excited to have him.
And Jess,
have
Jess
him and Jess on the show.
They're incredible. Just love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to live streaming,
we don't like.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
How that works?
Well,
yeah. But Facebook, man, I was wanting to stream on Facebook. I said, well, if I'm going to get over there, I'm going to stream and kind of push that a little bit, give me one more avenue. And apparently you have to be established before they let you start live streaming.
Because you just joined.
And I was just like, what the hell does even establish mean? Like, what is your criteria for that?
Right. And
you've been there for a few years, or at least a year. Or you're not a bot. A bot.
And then it's also different on Instagram, because Instagram you have to have a whole different thing with your business page, and it's so many hoops. It's ridiculous. I mean, it just really is.
I didn't know Instagram you could stream.
You can.
You
You just have to be a business profile that has a certain option, but it doesn't give you really the instructions.
Yeah, you have to set it to public. Restream they just got it where you can pull the stream. You can't connect it just like you can like Facebook or LinkedIn. You have to pull the stream key from, and you have to generate a new stream key every time. Yeah. But they have instructions in there to do it. And I did it, but I had to set my Instagram account to public to be able to do that. And Instagram is kind of my private side, where that's where I hang out with where my friends and stuff are. And I don't know. I'm weird about just people being able to look me up. So I didn't want it to be set to public. So I said, well, you know what?
I have everything. I have everything public. I dance with my skeletons.
I think I put mine originally not, because I got kicked off of both of them several years ago for no freaking reason. I was like, what did I do? I mean,
it's surprising that I've never have. For the shit that I
know. Like she does politics. I mean, she gets into it, and I was like, all I ever did was like, inspirational quotes, just enough to keep it moving, but I didn't really ever do anything. And the only thing that I ever did is I made a comment on some child trafficking post. And it was like a couple weeks later, I was off with no explanation, and I never got it back. And that pissed me off because I'd been on for a whole long time and had a pretty good following. And I also couldn't get my images back. So the lesson I learned from that was I download everything. I don't just upload a photo from my phone to Facebook. But it's also left me feeling a little bit like, screw Facebook. But I need to do more there for us, but it's
because with my Facebook, I had the Brian Terry event, the two Brian Terry events. I did my birthday. So I've, the Telluride Adaptive Sports Program, Veterans for Child Rescue, did, We Are Monsters. That's the good thing. Plus I lived around so much. That's why I use it. But really it was my space to Facebook. I'm showing my age.
I never did do
Yeah, I didn't either, but that was in the middle of my That was right in the middle of my like drug addiction.
Yeah.
So I did not, and you tweak when you're on meth, but I could not get myself to focus on MySpace. I was like, that is a lot of work for my tweaked out mind. I'd rather go take something apart and not be able to put it back together.
There you go.
Right. Don't need any public record of that.
Right?
Yeah, and I was with my controlling ex-husband during that time, so there was no way I was allowed to do anything on social media.
I was single.
Yeah.
I was, I was able to do whatever I wanted to. I still can.
Yeah.
Gabe,
Gabe's been kicked off several times, but he has done some wild stuff on his live streams.
People need to stop getting so fucking offended by shit.
I know, right?
Oh, ridiculous.
We say the stuff that you say behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, I heard someone say this recently. They said something and the person came back at them of how offended they were. And whoever said the statement was like, but that's your problem because that's how you're choosing to perceive it. And I'm telling you, that's not what my intent is of what I just said. And it's like, that's where the world is though, right? If you don't agree with me 100%, you're wrong and I'm right, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But people, they get way too offended. And it is based on their own belief system, which that'll be part of the conversation tomorrow, Christy. Belief system.
Well, and also, the three of us are strong Christians, or our belief, our faith is very strong. Yeah. And what's funny is those that are offended, it's like, but I'm a good Christian. It's like, well, something, Jesus wouldn't have cared.
Jesus wouldn't judge me, but you are.
Yeah. It's like, go, Bible thump somebody else.
Right.
But you're just looking for stuff at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What's up, Kenny D? I see you over there on YouTube. Thanks for dropping in.
Good.
Oh, you can see on your YouTube too when you go live?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That would mean I'd have.
Do you use a bot for that, or is that a setting?
No, it automatically comes in.
Okay.
And the cool thing, here's the cool thing. Yeah, well, there is a bot on the YouTube side because all the comments from all the platforms populate into the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
So they've got and LinkedIn doesn't let it do that because that's a bot, and they don't like bots. Well, Restream and YouTube figured it out, and they have a bot that does that. So like all of the LinkedIn comments, all the Twitch comments, they're all showing up on YouTube right now.
What's Twitch?
It's just a place to live stream. A lot of gamers stream there.
Oh, okay.
Like I have one person, sometimes two, that watch me on Twitch, but it's free stream there.
The only game I know is Pac-Man.
Right. Hey, Lisa Marie.
My age, I don't know it. I don't have kids, so I don't know anything about gaming.
Right. Easy. People watch all these kid movies. I did love when my nephews were little, though, and I had an excuse to go watch those cartoons because some of them were funny as shit.
Oh, I love SpongeBob. SpongeBob is my favorite.
What is?
SpongeBob. Oh, we're talking cartoons or we're talking games? I don't know.
Happy Feet, and I think Cars was the other one. And
Cars was good. Yeah, I never saw Happy Feet, but Cars was good.
Oh, Happy Feet! My little nephew, I think he was like 3 or 4 at the time. And when we left, he was like, "Auntie Kelle, you laugh louder than everybody in the movie." I'm like, because that shit was funny. I mean, because there was so much adults under, the kids would never.
Oh yeah, never catch it.
And I'm like, that's just brilliant. Make it so the parents want to go because the stuff we grew up to, that was painful for our parents.
Right.
I mean, we went to the movie theater and could have been played on the playground in our PJs until the lights flashed. And then the G-rated movie played first, and then we went to sleep, and our parents watched the R-rated movie next.
Yes, exactly.
It was funny. Well,
so Christy, tell us about your business and your freebie you give out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I was in corporate for over 40 years. And since I didn't get married.
I'm sorry.
No, it was fun. I worked for the NFL. I worked for Trump. I've worked for some pretty impressive people.
I enjoyed my stint.
Yeah. So I used to move every 2 to 4 years. So it's New York, Chicago, California, wherever, because I'd get bored. and I'd move, not know anybody, and not have a job. So I drank from the fire hose. Every job that I've had, I never knew what it was. So 2022, I finally got it talked to me a few times since my 40s, and he pretty much told me that I had to quit corporate, and I started just helping job seekers. Now, I've been a confidence coach since 2008. I've been doing LinkedIn since 2008, and I've been doing resumes about a year before COVID really hit for other people. And so I decided that I would just do a 30-minute, review on your LinkedIn and resume for the fact that people forget that they're a business. A business needs you.
Yep.
And because last year was a shit show and the interviewing and all that stuff is a clusterfuck, to put it bluntly. Oh, that's pretty much what I do. Because I talk to so many recruiters, I watch what's going on. I know the industry. I know levels. I work with global C-suites to everything, every industry I've worked with, because it's not really understanding the industry. It's understanding what you need to show on your resume and using your LinkedIn as your business page and utilize that. Understanding that, I don't really use, LinkedIn, but I have a green frame on and I'm looking for a job. So can you get me a job? No, you got to do it strategically. You got to figure out what you want. So I do a 30-minute review, but it's alive. I get to know them. I'm very intuitional. So I get to know them. I, look at what they have, asking them questions that they makes them think about, oh, okay, this question's making me, speak a little bit more about myself. And then I give them all the tools. I show them the template that I use, that I create. I show them how to use LinkedIn, about how applying, the whole works. So in 30 minutes, I give everything. And then they get my website afterwards via an email. And if they decide to invest in me, to invest with me as a partner, I turn around and I help them. A lot of people, money's tight. My prices are really inexpensive for what you get. You get me. I mean, constantly. I get texts at like 1 o'clock in the morning. But
most people don't do that.
Well,
and I think that's
surprising. So many people don't. It's 30 minutes. A lot of people, I get stood up like today, 2 times. Yeah. But it's like, okay, fine. I got, stuff happens. But so what happens is that when they realize, it's building their confidence in themselves. Yeah. And understanding that, hey, okay, you're right. I am a business. I have the power inside myself. So I do that. I've been very successful. And yeah, I mean, I love what I do. For the first time in my life, it's just not a job. I literally love, and I've taken where people are like, because a lot of people got, laid off and they hadn't interviewed in 20 plus years. They worked at the same company. And
or updated their resume or their LinkedIn profile. Like everything's changed so dramatically, and people didn't know what to do. Like, and that's one thing on LinkedIn. You've got so many people who claim they're expert on stuff, and it's like, but I see that you've got your, you didn't start LinkedIn until like 6 months ago. So how the hell are you an expert on LinkedIn profiles?
I think I have like 160 recommendations. I don't know. They keep saying. But it goes back to, it's very consistent of who I am. Yeah. All my recommendations. And that's what people, and to me, I'm not trying to sell myself. I want people to be confident of where they're at and make sure that their mental health is in a good place. Because we're in a world that's just,
right. It's still not getting any better. So many layoffs. And so many people are struggling with imposter syndrome, because they can't get hired. And I will say, for me to spend sort of in my profession, and also back to Christy, is I was laid off for the first time in my career in 2020 as a marketing executive. I was a CMO, first one to go. Bye. And I could not get hired. I was getting in interview, cycles, because usually at that level you have to do, 3 to 7 interviews, depending on the organization, but they kept pushing it off. Oh, we're going to wait till now after Labor Day, now after the holidays, after the election. And that was a long time to be out of work. And
Right.
first time in my life that I couldn't get a job. I always got the job that I wanted, or I was constantly being poached or looked at. Hey, are you interested?
And you didn't have to go through 8 fucking interviews and see if you fit the culture.
And then get ghosted. I mean, that's the other part. Then all of a sudden you get nothing. That pissed me off too. So what that does, and we talked about this a lot before we started doing the Awesome Journey, because we focus on job seekers and recruiters, like I mentioned earlier. And that was one of the things, is people struggling. And God, it was awful hearing how many people were saying, I've been out of work for 8 months and I can't take care of my family anymore. I've been having suicidal ideation. I had to go to the doctor, which thank God they did. But hearing it over and over again, we were just like, this is just different. It's a different world, and it's not shifting back anytime soon. And imposter syndrome does start to hit people, because it's like, I'm not even getting an interview, and I'm applying to a whole bunch of places. And the application process is complete utter bullshit, if you ask me. But and it's demeaning, and spending your whole day re-inputting your resume over and over and over again, and nothing.
Well, and Dan makes a good point that the
I was going to say, I was just fixing to say that's going to go to.
But the companies. So there's certain things that I always say. First of all, get out of your head, give it to God.
Yes.
Because, but when I talk to people, I say, remember this. First of all, your rejection is not about you. It's the person on the other side. Understand, I'm sorry, you young Gen X's or whatever year you are. I mean, I don't know what they are, boomers or whatever. No, I'm a boomer. That's Gen X. Understand.
I'm Gen X, so easy.
Z.
What's a 20-year-old?
Z.
Gen Z.
Z. Well, okay. Z, X, Z. Okay. Anyway, remember that recruiter just stopped waitressing at Outback, and now she's a recruiter. She has a job description. She has a job. And so now she's got power. So she's going to sit there and go, I don't like you. Nope, you don't have this. And now, boom, you're gone. Or, they're old. Not going to talk to that person.
Oh, yeah.
And
ageism is a thing.
Because they're coming in cheap and young. However, I read an article a few weeks ago that these kids are bringing their parents into their interview. And I'm like, I don't know. Go hire the adults, people. The grown-ups were old school. We like to work.
Well, and the other thing, and I say this a lot, is because, and I've interviewed hundreds of people over my career. And if you're looking, and companies right now, it's like you're missing an opportunity. The older people who have experience, who you could hire right now, who are looking for work, their experience, yes, you're paying for it, but they will be able to do what you're trying to accomplish so much faster than when you hire someone, yes, younger and at a lower rate, but it's going to take you so much longer to get there, and maybe some truly disastrous issues along the way, which is what most of us did in our career. We didn't get to I didn't get to a CMO position without making some serious fuck ups along the way. I mean, because it happens. So it's just a missed opportunity, in my opinion, and it's just stupid. And the bringing parents to an interview, I would say this interview is over. Bye-bye. I mean, come on.
I just messaged Dan. The two of us told him he needs to come on our show.
Yeah, he was I don't think he's recruiting anymore. I just asked him.
He's still. I've been following him. But he has a great journey to share. He has a great journey. But what's interesting also, some of these people actually, I heard the story because I talk to recruiters daily and I talk to job seekers daily. So I hear the nightmare. I hear all the stories. One guy brought his wife to the interview.
What is wrong with people? I mean, I honestly, that is so, I don't know. Although I will say, like, live streaming, I will say this, when I had my very first one that I did on Donald Cullen show, is I was nervous, but I was just like, all I can do is answer the questions. And I was a year ago, a few weeks ago, and I did go back and I was afraid to watch the first episode because I thought, man, I'm going to be so cringy. But it really wasn't, because I'm like, I was just answering the questions that I was asked. It was like no big deal. But it's just,
Right.
that is an interview, is just show up as yourself. Don't,
Yep.
because we can read through your pre-canned crap. I mean, it's just, it's so obvious. But the sad thing, and this is why I think, confidence coaching and or career coaching comes in handy, is people haven't interviewed in a long time and they're feeling desperate for a job, and you can smell desperation, and you need to practice before you go in somewhere or get online and do an interview to be sure that you're coming across properly.
Mhm.
That's just something that I think is so important, especially if you've been out of the game for a long time, because it's changed.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
definitely changed, because every job that I've ever had, I either got hired that day or the next day, because I always turned the interview on them. And this is before I even knew what was going on. It
Yes.
was just who I am. But because my attitude is, I looked at interviewing like dating. I
Yes.
didn't get married until I was 59, so I've done a lot of dating. So it's like I was a pro at it. And it's
Yep.
not like that anymore, which is a shame, because
Dating sucks though.
either it's a connection or it's not.
Yeah. If I ever had to go to work in corporate, I would be absolutely screwed on the interview process, because I have never had to go through an interview process.
But the reason you
Never.
would do good, Chris, is because you would just show up as yourself. And honest to God, that's what people look for. It's not so much about what people answer and what they say, because they're not always looking for, it's not the skill set. I hired people that didn't have the skill set, but man, they had um, the will or the fire under them that they wanted to do something. And they at least looked up the company and they were like, God, I would love to work here. Well, tell me why. Oh, I don't know anything, but I'll learn it. That you hire the attitude and obviously the culture to a huge degree, as opposed to the skill set. Like there's so much to it. So, and I think we said this when you were on our show. I'm like, man, if you came in, I would have totally hired you because you would work hard and you would do whatever it took to be sure that
Yeah.
you learned how to do it. And then
Yeah.
that's priceless. So
Yep.
I don't think it's necessarily about what you say or having the right answers. It is just about being you.
And that's the authentic side, people, authentic side. But it's
Right.
also about understanding it's B2B sales.
Yeah.
They're a business, you're
You're
a
a
business, you've got the scales, they have an ad out or whatever, a job, and they call you. They, oh yeah, my business can work with that. They call you. Now that's when you say, this is how I can sell your, fix your solution to the
Mhm.
problem that you're looking for. And
But
it's
that's another
understanding
thing is,
that
as a
concept.
job seeker that pisses me off is when I get something from, and I did get one from a local organization here, and I'm not going to give them a shout out. But they messaged me, hey, you've got all this. We would love to have a conversation. Here's the job position. Let us know if you're interested, and we'll set an interview. And of course, I responded with whatever they had asked me on LinkedIn. Never heard anything. I followed up because I'm not afraid to say, hey, why aren't you responding to me? You asked me, and she never answered me. And I was just like, that's just rude. You reached out. And those are the things with recruiters. And she worked for the company. So it wasn't like it was an outside recruiter. It was within the organization. And I'm like, you just did a bad thing for your company, because
Yes.
guess what? I will locally say things to people like, I wouldn't look at them because they treat people like shit.
Yeah.
And that's why I always wonder
and-
if the C-suites even know this, if the executives even know how their idiots are handling the hiring process.
Oh, they don't. I guarantee you they don't. I would say in most of them, because in the organizations that I've worked in, a lot of times the HR people were not qualified to be HR people. They weren't certified. They were, like you were saying, young people, low salary, that they were the ones going through the resumes and they were deciding what went on to the next level, which they didn't know what they were doing. And that's a shame, but it happens too often. And I know it still happens because people have cut, bottom lines by getting rid of so much of their upper crust level people, particularly I can guarantee in HR and marketing. But yeah.
Well, and you also have the big issue of ageism.
Yes, it's a beauty.
So, and then with ageism, and we could use my husband as an example, you'll be bored. you're overqualified, or they'll bring you in for like, I don't know, a 2-hour interview, and he's thinking, hey, this is great. Oh, I was never going to hire you. I just wanted to pick your brain because you're so impressive. Because if
That's
I hired
bullshit.
you, you take my job.
You
And
just
this is
wasted
what's
2
happening.
hours of my life that I could have been looking for someone that was actually going to hire me. Like, why did you even go through the process?
Because
That's
they're
insane.
idiots. Well, and plus, don't tell me I would be bored, because trust me, I would have never even been I wouldn't have taken the interview. I've already done my research. And this
Right.
is where it's late, it's lazy, it's insulting, and it's fucked up. But
It
when
is.
the numbers are out there saying that we're at the lowest of, unemployment, we all know that's bullshit.
Oh,
Because
totally.
people have stopped really looking. And I know I have job seekers that are not even getting jobs at like McDonald's and stuff like that, because they're interviewing from younger managers. So these managers are going to like, oh, they're going to come in and see that I don't do shit, so I'm going to lose my job. So unfortunately, it's a shitty situation. My heart goes out to everybody, and that's why I do the 30-minute free thing, just to have a conversation and give them hope and give them the confidence to say, look, you got your shit. Let's
Right,
just
and that
work
you're
on
not
it.
alone. Because I think a lot of people think like, how come I applied for 10 jobs this week and I got not one return? It's like, you're not alone. I promise you.
Right.
And it's not about you.
A lot of people.
Yeah, it's not. When you get a rejection, it's not about you. And when you
Yeah.
apply for a job, walk away.
Yeah.
The analogy is,
Anyways.
and especially when a recruiter says, oh, you're great, I'll give you a call. It's that time when I went out for a date and the guy's like, oh, I had a great time, I'll give you a call. 5 months later, you might hear from the guy.
It was nice meeting you. And this message from Dan, what I will say is, this is something that still burns my ass to this day. Because I was an executive. I was C-level, and I worked my ass off to get there. I had to know 10 times more than the men that were around the boardroom, just so that I could make my way. Because I did know more than they did, which I'm proud of that I did. But I, honest to God, at one of the organizations that I was at, I knew that my counterpart, who had actually been there less time than I was making a lot more than me. And I asked, I was like, what's up with this? The response that I got was, well, you don't have a family and kids.
Wow.
What?
No,
like,
but I have
how
a shoe
is that
addiction.
an actual answer? I mean, that's ridiculous. And multiple times along my career, asking things about salary, I always got just such crap answers. One was that I didn't have a degree. And I was like, you can't learn in school what I know in this organization. I was mentored through it for 10 years. I know it inside out and run circles around you jackasses that just bought it. But I did go back to school and get my degree, graduated with honors. So up yours.
But you know something?
But it didn't make a difference in my pay scale. I mean, I still was paid the same and always have been paid lower than men. And it's just a fact. I mean, it has increased over time, but it's still utter garbage. And as a female, also being in corporate America, I can also say I had a couple issues with sexual harassment. One was legit awful.
Do you think you could get $83 million?
Well, I did go to a very large
Chris, you get
corporate
that?
attorney, and they said, huh?
You know what I was sort of a joke with Trump, $83 million. Do you think?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yes. Sorry, it did miss me for a second. But when they said you have a case and you would likely win, as well as against the organization, which is a national, very big organization, but they said, but you will be deemed unhirable. And I was like, how is that okay? Like, that's bullshit. And I was still too young in my career where I didn't want to take that chance because I wasn't going to not work for the rest of my life. And it was on the heels of dealing with stalking from my ex-husband. And I thought, I don't want to go back to trial to prove myself
Right.
because someone else is acting bad. So many
Well,
things.
and it's also, I always look at it because when I was let go of a company and then HR, I ran into HR once on the streets of New York, and they said, you could come and sue us. And I said, okay. And my boss was arrested by the FBI for, in a sense, embezzling from the company. It's a very large company, very national company. And I'm thinking, you know something? No, I'm just going to go forward. Sometimes there's a reason why the doors shuts.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Why make a stink out of it? I mean, $83 million later, maybe? No.
Yes, and Dan also makes another good point of, yes,
Yeah.
you're right. It has increased for white women, but not, which is a shame. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, we could go on for days. For real.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So that's my business. That's what I do. You guys can find me. You can book on there, but I am here for everybody. I am a job seeker advocate, a mental health advocate, but then we all know that with our veterans, our UCs, our blue line, I'm an advocate for people.
Yeah. I was going to say, it just is in general. We've just kind of gotten into that space because they're not getting as much exposure as certain things. And even Chris, that's why, we love what you do here with a lot of your guests, because you're exposing and having conversation that people aren't having, and they need to. And we're just huge advocates of, and also for ourselves. I'm like, shit, I have changed my opinion. And I shouldn't say changed it like 180, but it's opened my eyes having some of these conversations. Like, I already knew about certain topics, but as you dive into them, you're like, man, I had no idea. Like, just even when we talked with you about recidivism, it blew my mind, those statistics. And I was like, from a business perspective, your business model sucks, people, and you should all be fired.
But it also understands, like with Chris and, having to go to prison, and then like Ben and Jess and the drugs, and Chris Smith. I mean, we have, good people. I mean, we're going to have Sean Riley on in 2 weeks that, was a detective, and he dove down to hell. But for the fact that I don't know about you, Kelly, but I know I've made some really bad choices in my lifetime. Chris, maybe, but Kelly, absolutely not. But from those choices, we always have that desire and decision if we want to learn from it and grow from it and become the Phoenix, or as Ben and Jess, if you guys, a great video, a great episode, going back and forth, and then just going, nope, not going to do it anymore. And I'm that way too. Like, how many times do I have to learn this lesson to stop doing this shit?
Yeah.
Right. It's never too
late.
That's
because our society, and we've always judged people by the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the book. And you can't anymore. There's a video that we were driving. My husband and I were driving, and the person, I'm in Florida, so I've got over by Sarasota, and so I've got a lot of snowbirds, and they drive very slow. I'm a very fast driver, so I'm behind this car.
I would have never guessed.
Me too, though. I love me.
And in my 30s, I didn't even drive in my 30s because I lived in New York and Chicago. But anyway, so I'm driving very slow, and I said to my husband, I'm like, okay, I can't get upset. Because I saw a video, Instagram or whatever, and it was a video of I want to say sort of a straggly looking guy, and he's walking and he's pushing people away, and then something would happen, like a car crash or whatever, and I'm like, going slow, because if I didn't go slow, something might happen. I mean, I'm being sort of stopped, so I can't make a judgment on that person going slow because it's not in my time. Yep,
I was going to say I changed that perspective quite a long time ago, and still remind me, because I'm like, God's keeping me from being somewhere. He's protecting me from something. And when you do, and it's like, I don't know where this person is trying to go. Maybe something just happened, and they're just, they just found out some bad news, and they're just not with it. Or, when people cut you off, I do the same thing. Maybe they're on the way to the hospital. Their wife or kid is having a baby.
Right.
We don't know what's happening. And it's just about how we choose to participate in the situation. Doesn't mean that sometimes I don't drop an F-bomb when it happens, but I do remind myself very quickly, hey, I'm just think about that. God's keeping me from something at this moment for a particular reason.
Yeah.
Oh, so that mindset just happened the other day. I mean, it was just, But so Dan's pretty much said, "Well, careful for the cursing." Well, I said it was unfiltered, and come on, people.
Yeah.
You want to
He's talking about in the comments.
like writing it out.
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. Oh,
Because
okay.
the bots
Because
troll.
that is it will pull it up different. It's different than the live than actually
Oh, okay.
the whole word.
That's not gonna stop.
Yeah.
When I worked for the NFL, my boss would get my attention. He'd throw a football at my head. What do you think came out of my mouth?
Gosh darn it! What are you doing, silly? Well, and you know what? Being in corporate America, like truly is just it's a man's world. But and to say the industry that I was always in was male dominated, but it was very heavily male dominated. Because there were times I was the only female in the boardroom, but there were also times that they would be like, "Kelly's worse than all of us," and I'd be like, "You kind of have to be though, because you get respect." Right. And I never had that leadership thing from a female perspective of like, I've got to be a bitch to be taken seriously, because I thought that was garbage. I thought, well, I don't want to be that person. I want to be a mentor. I want to encourage people. I want to be like who I am. But you still have to be able to get along with the boys club. And you hear all this stuff because, of course, like Christy said earlier, we're totally guys, girls, and always have been, even since a young age. And it's for that reason, because we weren't offended by what they were talking about. Right. Whereas a lot of other, young women or girls would be like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, that's so terrible." And I'd be rolling on the floor laughing because I'm like, I think it's hilarious that he just did that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You can't be offended by stuff, people. It's just
right. Why waste your time that's my thing. Like, why waste your energy getting so wrapped up in something, particularly when you don't necessarily know the person's intent? And why bother? Like, I just think there's so many other things to give your energy to these days than wasting time on being pissed off. I mean, God, because you
if you go over to London, you can say whatever, and they say the ugly. See you next. Whatever. It's like no big deal. No, and I will say I'm not
a fan of that word.
I don't like that word either.
No, I don't either. It's an ugly name. But when you go over there, it's like no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, that's true. But there's something about truly a British accent. And I'm a nerd enough. It doesn't sound bad when they say stuff. You can say the rudest thing to people. My ex-boyfriend and I were still very, very good friends. We traveled together and we would talk in British accents, and because we would say things about stuff and people would start laughing. And of course, why do we do that? I have no clue. It just made it more fun because we're complete nerds, but it makes things sound so beautiful when you say negative shit about stuff.
Oh. So well, y'all, is there anything else y'all want to hit on before we get up off of here?
Well, I definitely want to say, anyone, please do join us on Tuesdays at 1:11 p.m. Eastern time for the Awesome Journey. We do have incredible guests, and we do cover the gamut from job seekers to recruiters, but we get a lot into like the Ben and Jess Owen, the Tom and Dan from Gold Shields, doing a lot with military veterans and our first responders, and really going deep into some mental health situations and talking about topics that aren't being talked about a lot, because it really does tick me off. How can human trafficking and child sex trafficking be one of the biggest problems in our country, but nobody's talking about it? Like that alone should terrify everyone.
No, you get banned for talking about it on social media.
Well, it's because it's a billion-dollar business. Right. But this tomorrow. Oh, it's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Yes. We have an interesting guest. She's a medical intuitive. She's my mentor, but she's a medical intuitive, and she is going to the works that she does to understand that we have ourselves. That I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
cellular level. She goes deep into some cool stuff.
But it's real. But she's a kook. I mean,
Yeah.
she's 80. She's 80 years old. So just let you guys know, she's 80 years old. She's been dead 3 times. She had 3 near deaths. So she's really looking like she's 40.
She really does. And she
Yeah.
has more energy than the 3 of us combined. I'm not kidding you.
She does.
It's crazy.
She does. So, but no, this was fun. You know, it's like
Yeah.
sitting around.
Yes.
It's just sort of sitting around by the lake in Florida because we have better weather than you guys right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice today, but it's still a little chilly. But I'm not
It's
going to
all chilly
complain
today.
because most people would be like, it was in the 50s and 60s in Arizona today. Yeah, it was, but that's
Yeah, it
cold.
was in the 60s here
Desert
too.
growers.
And it's supposed to be
in
70
the 60s.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it was in
Yes.
the 60s here today. I couldn't
it's
open my back door.
Yeah.
My brother posted something on, it may have been on Snapchat, I don't remember yesterday that said, "Oh, look at the weather being all cute and springy when you weren't just trying to kill us last week."
For real, it was. It was so cold.
Yeah,
It was
cold.
it was in the 20s. That's way too cold.
We got down to like 8.
Oh no.
Yeah, they got bad.
Which is just like ridiculous for Texas.
Yes, hard pass.
Well, you had it in 21.
We had
But
it in
you can
21.
go
It got down to 0. I
Yep.
saw 0 for the first time in my life, and I was 41
crazy.
years old.
I will never
Yeah.
forget though, living in Texas, in Dallas specifically. I left for work one morning. It was snowing, freezing my ass off, and it rained in the afternoon, cleared up, and then was like 75. And I'm like, you
Yes.
legit have all the seasons
It
within a day.
happens. It
It's
happens.
called, it's called menopause.
Well,
Texas
that
has
is
been
hot
there for a
fashion.
long time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing to say too is everyone, please do connect with us. If there's anything
Yeah.
that we can help you, if there's any connections that we have that you would like an introduction, what have you, feel free to reach out. I mean, that's what we're here for. And that's what LinkedIn should be used for. We're networking. So please do feel free to reach out.
Because you never know who I know or she knows or we know that needs to know you.
Yes.
Yep. For real. Well, Christy, Kelly, I appreciate y'all so much for coming on. I'm glad nobody got cock blocked this time. It was able to happen the first time. We didn't have to
Can't
bring
do
in
it twice.
We didn't have to bring in a sub. Next, yeah, it would have been something if I had to bring Kendra in like last minute and been like, "Hey, come on with us."
That would be funny. Oh, so many things. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I love our
next week I have Brian Sagre on. He's an executive coach.
Oh, he's great.
Nice.
Yeah, he's great. He's going to come on the show.
He talks nice. He doesn't
Yeah.
use language like us ladies.
He does talk nice. Yep. He's and he's a fellow Texan. He's in San Antonio. So
Yep.
it'd be good to hang out with him. I've had 1 or 2 conversations with him, but it's always been in a group setting when we were working on something else. So it'll be good to sit down with him one-on-one and figure out what he's doing. So yeah,
Love
cool. All right, y'all. Y'all have an excellent week, and we'll see y'all next Monday at 7 p.m. Central.
See y'all.